Hello everyone, welcome to Pharmacy Lectures. Today we are going to discuss introduction of sleep-wake cycle. The general objective of this lecture will be to provide in-depth understanding of the neuronal regulation of the sleep-wake cycle. Neurobiology of sleep. Sleep is a reversible process that is represented by sensory and motor inactivity as well as reduced cortical responses to external stimuli. Sleep and wakefulness are likely controlled by factors within the reticular formation. We can see here the ascending reticular formation. It propagates to the cerebral cortex via various brain structures including the midbrain, the brainstem, the thalamus, hypothalamus, and this ascending reticular formation uh, helps to propagate the sensory information to the cortex, and that this structure behaves as a relay center that transmits afferent input to the cortex. For example, we awaken to the sound of an alarm clock or to a flash of lightning or the light coming from the windows or to a painful pinch because of RAS activity that arouses the cerebral cortex. In human physiology, sleep-wake cycles are regulated to a large degree by endogenous circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms are found in bacteria, algae, fungi, plants, and animals. They help organisms time their daily and seasonal activities so that they are synchronized to the external world and the predictable changes in the environment, as well as homeostatic mechanisms. Homeostasis, which depends on negative feedback loops, is an internal biochemical system that regulates the body's internal environment with the goal of maintaining properties such as body temperature and blood sugar, which in turn are governed by myriad of neuronal pathways. Here, a circadian clock and sleep homeostasis both help to maintain the sleep-wake cycle. Now, let's talk in detail about homeostatic mechanisms. The homeostatic process is the drive to sleep that is influenced by the duration of wakefulness. The longer period of time we are awake, the higher is the sleep pressure for us. Sleep-wake homeostasis in particular can be thought of as a kind of internal timer or counter that generates homeostatic sleep drive or pressure as a function of the amount of time elapsed since the last adequate sleep episode. The actual mechanism of sleep-wake is relatively poorly understood despite years of research, but we can explain it what we know with the help of this graph here. Let's take in x-axis sleep pressure and in y-axis the time at which the person sleeps. Here we are supposing a particular person sleeps at 11 p.m. and wakes up in morning at 8 a.m. and since he wakes up in morning at 8 a.m., at 8 a.m. the sleep pressure is minimum for him, and at 11 p.m. the time at which he sleeps, the sleep pressure is maximum for him. So if he wakes up in first day at 8 a.m. and as the day progresses, the sleep pressure is maximum at 11 p.m. and he sleeps in 11 p.m. Until 8 a.m. and this is the amount of time spent by him in sleep, indicated by this orange box. And at 8 a.m. again in next day the sleep pressure is minimum, and as the day progresses for second day, the sleep pressure starts to build up and the sleep pressure is maximum in 11 p.m. and again he sleeps at 11 p.m. and wakes up at 8 a.m. and this is the time elapsed by him in sleep, and again in third day he wakes up at 8 a.m. and as the day progresses sleep pressure builds up for him to maximum in 11 p.m. and he sleeps from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. and this is the normal timing for him. Now let us suppose he skips the second day sleep, then what will happen? Then what happens here is, if he skips the second day sleep, the sleep pressure will be maximum for him in the third day than it used to be in the second day. Here you can see the sleep pressure is very maximum in the third day, and he sleeps at 11 p.m. Like he used to sleep in other days, and wakes up at 8 a.m. But still you can see here the sleep pressure is not minimum which it used to be in previous days, and this is called the sleep debt, and this sleep debt needs to be compensated by sleeping for extended period of time in his upcoming days, maybe for 3 to 4 days or maybe up to 1 week. You have to sleep for extended period of time, and here in this orange colored box it indicates the sleep period. And the endogenous sleep regulating substance or substances that builds up in the body's cerebrospinal fluid during our waking hours has the effect of increasing the pressure to sleep the more it accumulates, and this pressure is only released by the act of sleeping itself, during which the levels of this sleep regulating substance in the body rapidly declines. The best known of these sleep regulating substances are adenosine, muramyl peptide, and various research are going on to find more these sleep regulating substances, and of course there are other sleep regulating substances also there in our brain. Now let's talk about circadian rhythms. The posterior hypothalamic TMN is involved in regulating arousal. You can see here the red colored line, it has written tuberomammillary nucleus. It is located in posterior portion of hypothalamus. It is involved in regulation of arousal, while the anterior hypothalamus, specifically the suprachiasmatic nucleus SCN, you can see here by that blue dot it is shown SCN, located in anterior hypothalamus. It is involved in the regulation of sleep or induction of sleep. The TMN, tuberomammillary nucleus mediated regulation of wakefulness, is dependent on histaminergic neurons that densely project into the cortex as well as other wake promoting structures within the brainstem. The TMN contains almost all histaminergic neurons, about 64,000 found in the adult mammalian brain. Now let's see how this TMN propagates to the cortex and other wake promoting structures. Histaminergic projections from TMN, tuberomammillary nucleus. This is the location of TMN, tuberomammillary nucleus, and it can propagate to striatum, it can propagate to cortex, it also propagates to cerebellum and other brain structures like medulla, cerebellum, spinal cord, and it can also propagate to posterior pituitary. And this TMN its firing rate is decreased upon sleep and its firing rate is increased upon arousal. So it is believed that TMN is involved in regulation of arousal. And the another nucleus, suprachiasmatic nucleus, it is involved in regulation of or induction of sleep. Now let's see of SCN. This is the SCN, the winged shape structure present in anterior pituitary, suprachiasmatic nucleus. And from retina, during our normal day period, light enters through the retina, and the light is converted into electrical impulse by the retina, and the electrical impulse is transmitted from retina to SCN, suprachiasmatic nucleus, via retinohypothalamic tract. And this impulse from suprachiasmatic nucleus is further transmitted to paraventricular nuclei through GABA neurons. This red lining is called GABA neurons, and during the daylight, if the light is transmitting from retina to suprachiasmatic nucleus, then paraventricular nuclei is inhibited, since GABA is an inhibitor neuron. And in the dark period, the retinohypothalamic tract will not transmit anything, so GABAergic neurons will not act upon paraventricular nuclei, So in dark period, the paraventricular nuclei can transmit impulse from itself to various other structures to pineal gland, and pineal gland will synthesize melatonin. Let's see. This paraventricular nuclei will transmit impulse to intermediolateral column of the spinal cord, also called IMC, and from IMC the impulse is transmitted to superior cervical ganglion, and from superior cervical ganglion the impulse is transmitted to pineal gland via this noradrenergic neuron, and this pineal gland, upon activation, it will synthesize melatonin, and the activation of pineal gland is inhibited by suprachiasmatic nucleus, and suprachiasmatic nucleus will inhibit the synthesis of melatonin in daylight, and in darkness it will not inhibit, and this is the mechanism. And these glutaminergic neurons, they are involved in retinohypothalamic tract. GABAergic neuron are involved in transmission of nerve impulse from suprachiasmatic nucleus to paraventricular nuclei, and again glutaminergic neurons are involved in transmission of impulses from paraventricular nuclei to IMC, and cholinergic neurons are involved in transmission of impulse from intermediolateral column to superior cervical ganglion, and norepinephrine or adrenergic neurons are involved in transmission impulse from superior cervical ganglion to pineal gland, and pineal gland, upon activation, it will synthesize melatonin, and activation of pineal gland can be inhibited by suprachiasmatic nucleus with the help of GABA neurons, and this inhibition takes place in daylight, and in darkness this inhibition cannot take place and melatonin synthesis can occur. So this was the mechanism of suprachiasmatic nucleus controlling the synthesis of melatonin. And now let's discuss about human sleep cycles. We can better discuss these human sleep cycles with the help of the graph. Let's see the graph in here. In x-axis there are various awake, it is indicated by red, REM sleep indicated by orange, stage 1 by light blue, stage 2 by medium dark blue, and stage 3 by dark blue, and stage 4 by this black color. And on y-axis we are supposing the person sleeps up to 8 hours on average, and in this we have drawn these lines, and we are supposing at first that the person is awake, it is drawn by red line, and after sleeping in bed it takes around 10 to 15 minutes for the person to fall asleep, and the person enters the stage 1. The initial period of sleep is stage 1, which lasts only a brief period of time 5 to 15 minutes, and represent the period of transitioning from wakefulness to sleep. The progression to stage 1 results in the emergence of slower theta waves with lower frequency 4 to 10 Hz, and the individual progresses to the light or drowsy sleep. In stage 2 sleep, which often lasts 15 to 20 minutes, or it can last a few minutes also, background theta waves continue but are periodically interrupted by bursts of higher frequency 12 to 15 Hz EEG event. And the stage 3, which lasts for few minutes, and stage 4, which can last for 20 to 40 minutes, it can last. And stages 3 and 4, often referred to as slow wave sleep, are characterized by appearance of higher amplitude slower frequency delta waves, which occur less often in stage 3 and more often in stage 4. And both of these stages represent deep sleep because the characteristic delta activity is least similar to arousal state alpha activity. And the fifth stage of sleep, now here is this REM sleep. and it is characterized by increases in eye movement, respiration rate, and brain activity. That's why it is called REM sleep. And healthy adults typically enter sleep through progression through the stages, with the first REM stage occurring after 75 to 90 minutes of non-REM sleep, and a typical return to stage 2 or stage 3. It can return to stage 2, or it can also return to stage 3 directly from REM sleep. And again the stage 3 is a few minutes here, and the person can again go to stage 4, which can last for 20 to 40 minutes again, and the person will again enter REM sleep via this stage 3, stage 2, and this REM sleep. And the person can be awake because he needs to go to washroom, or because of his another problems, the person can be awake, and again the person can enter REM sleep. Then it can enter again stage 1, then stage 2, then again if the person is awake due to another any problem he is facing, then again he can enter REM sleep, then again stage 1, then stage 2, then again stage 1, then again REM sleep. Now you can see here the REM sleep is increasing, is proportion increasing as the sleep progresses by. Okay, and again it can enter stage 1 and stage 2, and now it is not entering the stage 3 and stage 4. Now the REM, the the amount of time slept in REM is increasing as the sleep progresses, and the person can be awake now, and now the person is awake. And another important thing here is, as the sleep progresses the course of night, the amount of time spent in REM sleep increases, such that over a typical 8-hour sleep cycle, approximately 55% to 60% of sleep time is spent in stages 1 and 2 light sleep, 20% in stages 3 and 4 deep sleep, and 20 to 25% in stage 5, which is REM sleep. So this was all for sleep cycle. If you have any problems, please comment, and thank you for watching. See you in next video.